just want to say a brief word of welcome and thank you to all of you for joining us. It's a great pleasure for us here at the Catholic Center. My name is Father Sebastian White. I'm a Dominican friar. I'm very proud to have Father Peter John Cameron here as a brother in the order. And we're very happy to host this wonderful event, a discussion on the Year of Mercy. Crossroads Cultural Institute, Magnificat, and the Catholic Center have worked together to make this a beautiful evening of learning together. So please know that you're very welcome here for other events that we have in the future. And I'm sure you'll be receiving information from all of these your hosts this evening. And just so that you know, there are restrooms here in this building on the other side of that wall, which you can get to by going down the hallway, and also down the hall on the other side of the building towards the chapel, just so you know where they are. Okay, thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
The next morning, Bishop Bienvenu was strolling in his garden. Madame Magloire ran up to him in utter consternation. Your Excellency, she exclaimed. The basket of silver, great good God, it is stolen. The man who was here last night has stolen it, Your Excellency, the man is gone. The silver has been stolen. There came a knock at the door. Come in, said the bishop. The door opened. A singular and violent group made its appearance on the threshold. 3 men were holding a 4th man by the collar. The 3 men were policemen. The other was Jean Valjean. A brigadier who seemed to be in command of the group entered and advanced to the bishop, making a military salute. Your Excellency, he said. At this word, Jean Valjean raised his head with an air of stupefaction. Your Excellency, he murmured. So he is not the parish priest? Silence, said the gendarme. He is His Excellency the Bishop. In the meantime, Bishop Bienvenu had advanced as quickly as his great age permitted. Ah, here you are, he exclaimed, looking at Jean Valjean. I am glad to see you. Well, but how is this? I gave you the candlesticks too, which are of silver like the rest, and for which you can certainly get 200 francs. Why did you not carry them away with your forks and spoons? Jean Valjean opened his eyes wide and stared at the venerable bishop with an expression which no human tongue can render any account of. Your Excellency, said the brigadier, so what this man said is true, then? We came across him. He was walking like a man who is running away. We stopped him to look into the matter. He had this silver, and he told you, interposed the bishop with a smile, that it had been given to him by a kind old fellow of a priest with whom he had passed the night. I see how the matter stands, and you have brought him back here? It is a mistake. In that case, replied the brigadier, we can let him go? Certainly, replied the bishop. The policeman released Jean Valjean, who recoiled. My friend, resumed the bishop, before you go, here are your candlesticks. Take them. He stepped to the mantelpiece, took the 2 silver candlesticks, and brought them to Jean Valjean. Valjean was trembling in every limb. He took the 2 candlesticks mechanically and with a bewildered air. He was like a man on the point of fainting. The bishop drew near to him and said in a low voice, do not forget, never forget, that you have promised to use this money in becoming an honest man. Jean Valjean had no recollection of ever having promised anything, remained speechless. Jean Valjean, my brother, you no longer belong to evil, but to good. It is your soul that I buy from you. I withdraw it from dark thoughts and the spirit of perdition, and I give it to God. So this amazing passage from Victor Hugo's Les Miserables may be perhaps the most moving account of mercy ever depicted in all of literature. And Jean Valjean, of course, went on to become the most generous, self-sacrificing, heroic servant of mercy that one could ever imagine. Now, wouldn't you like to meet that mercy in your own life? I would. And that's why we're here tonight, because we have that desire. And I am so grateful that you're here tonight. Thank you for coming. And that is why our Holy Father, Pope Francis, has called for an extraordinary Jubilee year of mercy to begin in just a few weeks on December the 8th. In the bull of indiction for the Jubilee year, which is called Misericordiae Vultis, Pope Francis tells us that mercy is the ultimate and supreme act by which God comes to meet us. Mercy is the bridge that connects God and the human being, opening our hearts to a hope of being loved forever despite our sinfulness. Mercy is the force that reawakens us to new life and instills in us the courage to look to the future with hope. And then Pope Francis reminds us, at times we are called to gaze even more attentively on mercy so that we may become a more effective sign of God the Father's action in our lives. So that's what we want to do this evening. We want to gaze more attentively on mercy by way of preparing ourselves for the Jubilee year of mercy. And to help with this, I would like to offer you two precious, luminous candlesticks, Rita A. Simmonds and Barbara La Porte. Rita A. Simmonds was born in Rochester, New York. She received her BA from Hofstra University and her MA from the Teachers College, Columbia University. And for several years, she worked for the City University of New York, teaching English as a second language. Rita is a three-time winner of the Best Original Poetry at the annual Catholic Press Association Awards, as well as a winner of numerous second and third place Catholic Press Association Awards. Those are all poems that she wrote for Magnificat. And one year I remember being especially saddened and chagrined because I noticed, as they announced the awards, that Rita had come in second place. So I read the critique, because they give a little critique on, why. And it said it's a beautiful poem, but the first place winner just edged out the second place winner by that much. The first place winner that year was Rita A. Simmonds. She won both. In 2012, 14 of her poems were featured in the best-selling Magnificat Year of Faith Companion, and in this book, the Magnificat Year of Mercy Companion, which we must kiss, 49 of her poems appear here, commissioned for here, that she wrote. So if you buy this book for no other reason, buy it because it's a beautiful little volume of poetry. And then in 2013, she published her first book of poems, Souls in the City. And Rita lives in Brooklyn with her two beautiful sons. And she's going to tell you about her deceased husband, Frank, who was a friend of many of us, who died in the odor of sanctity by the testimony of, I would say, almost everyone who's ever met him. Barbara La Porte has a master's degree in theology from the Seton Hall University. She is presently a member of the board of directors of the VTV Family Outreach Foundation. This was established by families and survivors directly impacted by the April 16, 2007 tragedy at Virginia Tech, where her son Matthew was a victim. VTV advocates for campus safety and security by focusing on issues of mental health, bullying, privacy laws, and information sharing, and supporting programs to create positive change in behavior. Prompted by the Holy Spirit, Barbara has embraced opportunities to share her journey of healing, comprehending, and witnessing to others affected by tragic loss, describing how her devotion to the divine mercy continues to transform her sorrow into joy. She has spoken to local groups as far as California And with this event, she can say she has spoken from New York to California. She has written essays for the Marians in Stockbridge, that's where the Divine Mercy Shrine is, in Massachusetts, and recently for Magnificat. So she is in this book, along with her beautiful daughter Priscilla, who is here. She's in this book. And Barbara is here with her husband Joseph and their friends. And she is presently discerning writing a memoir, a visible sign of God's love and his presence alongside not only her and Matthew, but also to extend his grace to others. And we really hope that Barbara will do that, because we need that book, Barbara. Barbara is most proud of her being called to be a mother and to share in the mystery of creation. Besides the temporal bond she enjoys with her daughter Priscilla, she also shares a spiritual bond with her son Matthew, believing that through the mystery of love, it is an eternal bond. So without further ado, I am happy to introduce to you Rita A. Simmons.
Thank you, Father Peter, for that beautiful introduction. I'm not going to say a lot right now because I would like you all to watch a video which was filmed a year before my husband Frank passed away. He was a speaker at New York Encounter, which is our 3-day cultural festival that we have for 3 days in January every year. And he gave a very short witness about his life, which is all mercy. And he was introduced by Monsignor Albacete, who also went home to God in October, 3 months before Frank passed away. So it's really a beautiful clip that I would love to show each one of you.
My man says, your wife prepared this, so it's been approved. It's kept silent about certain aspects. Mr. Frank Simmons was born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up on Long Island. His parents were West Indian, St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and that's a very good region to be from, and raised him in the Roman Catholic faith. His mother died of cancer when he was 17 years old, and for the next 25 years, Frank turned away from his faith and followed an alternative lifestyle of drug addiction, homelessness, crime, and incarceration until he encountered a power much greater than all his mistakes, which enabled him to accept a change in his life. Frank has lived in that encounter ever since. He resides in Brooklyn again with his wife and 2 young sons, and works here in Manhattan as a dorm. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Simmons.
And by the way, he married me and my wife, so we're kind of close. But I just wanted to say, first of all things, I have joy today, and to be able to say it with the drama of life and the way that my life had this contrast today is so beautiful, it's beyond description. But one thing I must acknowledge is not generated by me. So I just want to give you a brief idea of what was explained there. Yes, I was brought up Roman Catholic, I knew all about God and everything, but to be honest with you, the true love of my life was my mother. her love was so unconditional. I've never experienced it prior to being in her presence. So subsequently, you know, when you put all your eggs in one basket, you realize at times things can be taken away from you. And when she died, I felt that unconditional love was gone. To say that I was hurt is an understatement, but who was I to blame? God is a good one. He created everybody. He's so merciful and everything. You took the only one that I loved the most out of my life. How could this be? You got the power. You could have kept her. You could have brought her back. So I chose to do things my way, like Frank Sinatra used to say, I did it my way, but no, believe me. So, I went out and did a lot of drugs, lost everything my mother had worked for, the house at home, and some people say, where was your father? He took off and he went on his own thing. And I lost everything, 17 years old, like I knew how to take care of myself. But, you know, I just went on because I didn't care. I thought that no matter what, how could I lose? If I killed myself or something, I don't think the worst thing that could happen is I could end up with my mother. That's that crazy thinking that people go through. You know, when you're really suffering from things, sometimes you lose your mind. I was one of the people that lost track of everything. You know, so I wanted to take control of my life. I didn't need God to control it. Look what he did. He took my mother from me. So, to me, as far as that's concerned, at that moment, he was just as good as a picture on a wall. So I took control of my life, thinking that I could do better. And it spiraled through so many different things. But yet I refused to acknowledge that he existed. I still wanted to do it my way. So much to a point where one night I had sold my coat, sold my shoes. I was sitting in an abandoned building on the steps. I had no money, nothing to get any more drugs with. And I said, well, I just run up to the next guy that's coming by and then I'll just keep moving. I'll get another pair of shoes, another, you know, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, of course, like you expect to see all these people running by you can rob, you know what I mean? But, you know, that kind of thinking. And I hear footsteps. So I'm like, oh, good. I look around and here's this guy, do-de-do, coming up the sidewalk. I said, perfect. I got it. As he got closer, he was wearing black and he had something white by his neck. And I was like, oh man, it's really getting bad now. I'm about to rob a priest, man. Dang, man, how low can you go, you know? You know? I mean, I'm telling you this because the only way I can communicate to you is through experience, not my intellect. Or I'm not all that smart of a guy, but I can paint this picture because I experienced it. That's something that sticks. So anyway, he comes by and he got closer and I'm preparing myself, getting all rigid. A hot 135 pounds, 6'1", 135 pounds, and now I want to go rob people in the street, but all right, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. Anyway, as he got closer, I said, you know what? Let me give him a break. If he don't say nothing to me, I'm going to let him go. I'll find another guy. He goes by, you know, and he stops right in the corner. I'm like, here it goes. And he turns around and he says, young man, if you think God's gonna come and lay down here with you in the gutter, he won't. You know why? Because he's holy. He said, but if you ask him, he'll come and take you out of this gutter. And I said, man, you better get to stepping, man, because I'm ready to jump on you now, you know what I mean? Go. And as he went up the street and turned the corner, and it wasn't far, I said, forget it, I'm gonna rob. So I went running around the corner, he was gone. I looked, there was no lights on and all that. He was gone, and it tortured me it tortured me so bad. I felt, I don't know, I can't explain the word for it. So exposed for what I really was, because here we are now talking about the time and a person and people. I didn't even think I was a person then. I didn't even know what a person was. I don't even think I knew what love was. I didn't love myself. So I was tortured and tortured and tortured. Got up. And I started like, you know, when sometimes you see in New York a lot, kind of, you'll see these guys in the street talking, you know, well, you know, I was one of those guys walking up a street. And I said, you know what, I can't take this. It's like one of those Wolfman movies. The full moon comes up, I turn into this monster. But when do I turn back into me? I'm the monster all the time. I couldn't take it. So I wanted to end it. I come up with brilliant ideas when I think by myself. Suicide! Hey, yeah, that'll put an end to everything. You know? So I'm coming up the street. I said, the best way to do this, now all of a sudden I got all these great plans of how I'm gonna commit suicide. And I'm talking, as I'm coming up the street, I'm gonna go to the train station and jump in front of a train. Brilliant. With my luck, it cut off my arms and legs and my body would still be there alive, you know? This is the way my life was, but I was gonna do this brilliant thing. And as I was walking up the street, I was yelling at God, saying, you're not real. You're not real. You're not real. You're that picture on the wall. Let me see you stop me from what I'm about to do right now. You know, you're all that powerful, you all stop me. And as I was walking, I can't believe this. It cried out from inside of me. It cried out and said, and it came through my mouth. It said, God, if you stop me from what I'm about to do, I will serve you for the rest of my life. And I was like, what? What is this? I can't believe my skin started to crawl. This is not some abstract thing that's happening. This is something real as I could possibly experience something. So, after that happened, I was in such shock. I'm standing in the middle of the street. Cars, like a car was going by. Yo, man, get out the street. I was like, man, maybe he'll hit me and I can get it done without having to do all the work myself. You know? And he went by and everything. But before I got to the train station, I thought of the guy last night where this happened with the priest. And I thought of a guy that told me, he said, look, if you really get into real deep trouble, call this number, 1-800-WE-DETOX or whatever. And just so convenient that there's this phone there. And I went to the phone, it was a toll-free number, I dialed it and called it, and they were like, yes. I said, oh, what are you saying yes to me for? I need the answers from you. You know, he's like, what answer are you looking for? I said, man, I'm a drug addict. It's really hopeless. I don't know why I'm making this phone call, but I'm about to kill myself. Help me. I knew that was coming. I knew this was coming. Anyway, I'll give this to you real quickly. They asked me who I was. They picked me up. They took me to a hospital, and it was like a rehab. And I said, this hospital looks familiar. Yeah, they said, yeah, this used to be Hempstead General Hospital and whatever. And I was in shock. Hempstead General Hospital was where my dead mother worked. And I realized right then and there that someone still loved me, even though they weren't present. And what is it that the heart is really looking for? Isn't it looking for love and relationship? Right then, I encountered the very thing that I wasn't aware of, and I'm still living it now. It doesn't end. I'm living in it now, and it just happens that I'm here with you, wide open, not afraid to tell you anything about myself. I have problems just as bad as the problems I had before, but why am I different now? Why am I able to stand in front of the same problems that I had before? My father died, and still not run to the drug. To be honest with you, when I first met my now wife, and she told me about Father Giussani and everything, and she showed me this book, I opened up the book and I was like, what? You gotta be a Harvard grad to read this book. But you know what? My life, all of those words and stuff that I thought I could understand, I started to experience. And when I started to experience, they became real. I realized I was a person. I realized that I wasn't the one in control of anything. The most control I can show is depending. And I found the strength of dependence in something greater than myself, allowed me to see the meaning as to what the contrast of my life was to this day. So I'm able to sit here and say, yes, it is the time of the person. I am a person. And these are my people. And I'm proud of that. And yes, I don't have the answer to why all of these things happened in my life, but I know they happened. And I want more. It's not enough. That little encounter, it didn't quench the thirst that my heart wanted. I want more. And that's why I'm here, to share this message to you. We always want to be in control. We're very powerful, unified, especially when the source of everything becomes the source of everything. And we realize that, and we're aware of that. We do this together. This encounter isn't just for CL and whatever. It's for all people. It's for all people. I'm in love with everyone. But first, I had to fall in love with myself and value my life. Thank you very much.
It's marvelous to see that video again. So when I first met Frank, he was a man in trouble. I knew him before the incident that he recounted of when he was going to rob a priest, but I met him through a friend of mine named David, who worked at the George Washington Bridge, and he used to bring homeless people and alcoholics and drug addicts, people who needed help. He used to bring them off the street and get them into shelters. And Frank lived on Rikers Island in a shelter himself, and we didn't know that he was still using drugs, that he was still addicted to crack. And one day he just disappeared. But David had introduced me to Frank because he knew about the community that I was involved in, Communion and Liberation. And he said, you know, Frank is a really great guy, but he doesn't have the right kind of friends. Maybe you can introduce him to your friends. Maybe you can introduce him to the people in your community. And so I said, sure, I could do that. And so right after I invited Frank to Thanksgiving dinner, he ended up disappearing, and that was the story that he told. And then the next time I heard from him after that was when he was upstate in rehab, and I'd written him a couple letters, and it was really a friendship, and that was it. And I tried to remain faithful to that friendship, and it really wasn't that hard because Frank was a great guy. And I said, wow, this is like a great, great guy, you know? He should have a wife. And I tried to fix him up, you know, with various friends of mine, and I was pursuing a different vocation at the time. It wasn't a married vocation. Anyway, so we were friends.